Alright, welcome to the video. In today's video, we'll talk about JING YUAN, who's the newest 5-star character. JING YUAN excels at dealing with multiple enemies through his skill, ultimate, and most importantly, his talent. So without further ado, let's get into it. JING YUAN's talent can seem complicated due to the massive amount of text, but I'll explain it as simply as possible. You summon the Lightning Lord, who essentially is a 5th character in your team. He attacks on his own when it's his turn to attack on the action meter, and his attacks are considered follow-up attacks. The Lightning Lord has 60 speed and 3 hits per action as a foundation, meaning that his speed and hits per action doesn't go lower than this, but can get higher. Each hit per action gives the Lightning Lord 10 speed and will make the follow-up attack hit one more time. So if the Lightning Lord has 10 stacks, which is the max, his speed will be 160 and his attacks will hit 10 times. Each hit will deal a percentage of JING YUAN's attack to a random enemy, as well as 25% of the damage dealt to the adjacent enemies. After the Lightning Lord has attacked, his hits per action will go back down to 3. If JING YUAN is knocked down, the Lightning Lord will disappear, or if JING YUAN is CC'd, the Lightning Lord will not attack. A thing that I feel like some people might overlook is the Lightning Lord's ability to shred shields. Each hit is able to break down the shield on the enemy, however the adjacent enemies don't get their weakness bar damaged, only the enemy who is hit. The way you will get increased hits per action is by using his skill, ultimate, or technique. His skill does damage to all enemies and increases the hits per action by 2. Unfortunately, the scaling on the skill isn't really that high, however you still want to spam it when you can, so that you can get the hits per action for the Lightning Lord, which basically will make up for the low damage from the skill. The ultimate does damage to all enemies and increases the hits per action by 3. Again, you do want to use the ultimate for the Lightning Lord, but the damage from the ultimate is pretty decent as well. JING YUAN's technique gives the Lightning Lord 3 hits per action, which is very good, since you now will be starting the battle off with 6 stacks instead of 3. The Lightning Lord is a big part of JING YUAN's kit, so you do want to always be able to get as many hits per action as possible to dish out more damage, and to also break the shields. Keep in mind, if you are against a solo enemy who is weak to lightning, all the hits from the Lightning Lord will hit that enemy and shred down the shields incredibly fast. However, he will still perform better against multiple enemies. For the Lightcones, Before Dawn is his best option by far and can be a great option for other erudition characters if you're using those as well. It gives crit damage and also increases skill and ultimate damage unconditionally, which is pretty insane. The other part of the passive will give you increased damage on the next follow-up attack after you have used a skill or ultimate, which definitely isn't a hard thing to do, considering you do want to get more hits per action on the Lightning Lord, and the way to get that is by using his skill or ultimate. Again, this Lightcone is his best option, so if you have it, use it. Night on the Milky Way can be good as well. It increases attack for each enemy up to 5 times, and when an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, he will get a damage increase. As mentioned before, the Lightning Lord is able to shred shields, so it's not unrealistic to get this part of the passive most of the time. For the 4-star Lightcones, I would recommend Birth of the Self, The Seriousness of Breakfast, and Today is Another Peaceful Day. The Birth of the Self increases your follow-up damage, and if the targeted enemy is at 50% HP or less, you will get even more increased follow-up damage. Since the Lightning Lord is the main source of damage for JING YUAN, this Lightcone can be very good. The Seriousness of Breakfast is a free-to-play Lightcone that you are able to buy in a shop. It increases your damage, and for each defeated enemy you will get a damage increase up to 3 times. Considering this is a free-to-play option, this is very good. Then we have Today is Another Peaceful Day, which is a Battle Pass Lightcone, meaning that you can only get this from the Battle Pass. This will increase your damage based on your max energy, and the max energy for JING YUAN is 130, meaning that you will get at least 26% damage increase. For the 3-star Lightcones, I wouldn't recommend any because you do have access to a free-to-play 4-star Lightcone. However, if you really want to use one, then I think Sagacity is pretty decent. For the Traces, you should prioritize the talent, since that's the main source of his damage. After that, you can level up the skill or ultimate. I would recommend not leveling up the basic attack, since you do want to use your skill or ultimate whenever you can. His bonus abilities are pretty good. This one gives the Lightning Lord 25% crit damage increase if the Lightning Lord has 6 or more hits per action. You can activate this trace by using his ultimate 1 time, or his skill 2 times, or his technique 1 time before battle. This one gives you 15 energy at the start of battle, and this one gives you 10% crit rate for 2 turns after you use your skill, which you most likely will be doing all the time. Overall, his bonus abilities are very good. For the Relics, I would recommend Band of Sizzling Thunder, or if you don't have that, then you can use Musketeer of the Wild Weed. You can also use the 2-piece Band of Sizzling Thunder and a 2-piece Musketeer of the Wild Weed. The main stats for the Relics should be crit rate or crit damage for the body piece, and it should be speed or attack for the boots. For the ornaments, you should go lightning damage boost for the sphere, and you should go attack on the Link Rope. His items are pretty decent but definitely not needed. His E1 increases the damage dealt to the adjacent enemies hit by the Lightning Lord. His E2 increases his damage on the basic attack, skill and ultimate by 20% for 2 turns after the Lightning Lord attacks. His E3 levels up the ultimate 2 times and the basic attack 1 time. His E4 will regenerate 2 energy for each hit the Lightning Lord does. His E5 will level up his skill 2 times and his talent 2 times. And his E6 will make the enemies take more damage from each hit of the Lightning Lord, stacking up to 3 times. Overall, his items are pretty good, but definitely not needed. Now for the teams. I would always recommend a healer on every team. You can either go Bilo or Natasha, it's up to you. The third slot can be Bronya or Asta, or it can be a shielder if you want to be more defensive. But it really depends on what content you're doing. The fourth slot can be another type you might need, or it can be more utility. An example of an offensive team can be Jing Yuan with a healer, and then a buffer such as Asta or Bronya, and then a hunt character or another buffer / debuffer. An example of a more defensive team can be Jing Yuan with a healer, then a shielder, and the fourth slot can be someone like Ting Yun, since she's able to get your healer or shielder their ultimate back so that they can shield or heal you. Or if you need the damage buff, you can of course also give Jing Yuan his ultimate back. Overall, I enjoy Jing Yuan a lot. I do feel like there is some misconception that he's bad against solo enemies. In my opinion, he does have great damage and isn't really bad against solo enemies. Just like Seele isn't necessarily bad against multiple enemies. You just have to consider the situation you're in. People might be afraid to summon for Jing Yuan or Seele because they fear that the content might go in a direction that isn't favorable for that specific character. But like I just said, they are still able to perform in situations that they aren't necessarily made for. So I don't think in-game content needs to be taken into consideration that seriously if you really want to summon for him. Other people don't want to summon because they want future characters, which I respect, because I want those characters too, so I won't argue against them. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If I missed something or you disagree with something, feel free to leave a comment. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.